You ever wake up one day thinking your life's finally about to get simple, then the universe just sits back and laughs? That's exactly how it started for me, because when I inherited 120 acres of wild North Georgia land from my Uncle Raymond, I thought I was inheriting peace. You know what I mean? Quiet, untamed woods, a river that just sort of hummed along like it had secrets of its own, an old house on a ridge that looked like it had outlasted a couple presidents. Hell, I thought I'd hit the reset button on my life. I just packed up everything in Atlanta, left the zoning meetings, the office politics, the noise behind. Drove up north thinking I was trading conference calls for coffee on the porch and trout in the river. The house looked rough, sure, but it had character. I spent weeks scraping wallpaper that had seen 3 generations of ugly fixing joists with more nails than sense, putting in windows that actually kept the raccoons out mostly. I got this vision, right? Garden here, maybe a dock there, a screened-in porch so I could watch the sunrise with coffee and the sunset with bourbon. Yeah, I was romantic about it. It's funny, life has a way of reminding you just how much you don't know. After the first thaw, I finally hiked down toward the river, expecting a muddy mess, but nothing weird. That's when I saw it. The river had crept over maybe 20 feet east, like it decided it wanted more elbow room. Nothing shocking, rivers do what they want. But what got me wasn't the water, it was the tire tracks. Not little ATV ruts, these were from something big, dual rear tires, heavy. I followed them, heart pounding, and there it was, a brand new metal shed, light gray with fake wood trim that screamed HOA catalog special. I mean, it looked like it had been airdropped straight out of suburbia onto my land. I walked a slow circle around it, feeling that kind of numb disbelief you get when someone just cuts you off in traffic and stares like you're the problem. The concrete slab was still curing, the padlock was fat and shiny, and nobody had left so much as a note. No one called, emailed, left a post-it, just built a whole damn building on my property like it was an Amazon package gone rogue. I'm not usually a paranoid guy, but I am an architect. You learn to spot when something's done with intent, and this wasn't an accident. This was a statement someone was claiming a piece of my riverbank. I went back up, grabbed my drill, and popped those hinges off. If you drop a structure on my land, etiquette's not in the contract. Inside the place was jammed full boxes everywhere, labels in blue marker, Unit 2 seasonal, don't toss, Karen office. Then, like a cherry on top, an ancient white fridge with a Riverview Crossings HOA sticker right on the front. Bundles of plastic chairs, busted leaf blowers, and a folding table stacked with cheap decorations. It was basically a landfill with better organization. I locked it back up, honestly, just to keep the scene preserved. Then I went back home, opened a beer, and made a list. At the top, Karen Coington. I lay awake that night staring at the ceiling, replaying every detail in my head. It wasn't just some neighbor being careless. This was strategic, arrogant, calculated. Next morning, I called the Riverview Crossings HOA office. After 3 transfers and some banjo version of Stairway to Heaven, I got her, Karen herself. You ever meet someone who can weaponize politeness? Her voice could freeze lemonade. Riverview Crossings, HOA. This is Karen. I told her straight up, there's a shed on my property. Your shed. She hit me with, oh, that? Yes, that's part of our temporary beautification initiative. Community storage. Like she was talking about putting up a birdhouse. I said I didn't agree to anything. That's my land. I've got the deed. She didn't miss a beat, switched from honey to steel. With all due respect, that land's been neglected for years. Our board voted to use it temporarily. There was no fence, no signage. I said, it's a riverbank, not a parking lot. She laughed, a sound that could peel paint, and told me if I wanted to prevent future improvements, maybe I should join the HOA. I almost dropped the phone, laughing. Let me get this straight, I said. You build a structure on my land, and your solution is for me to sign up. She tried to regain control, but I hung up before she could send me a digital pamphlet. But beneath the anger, I was rattled. She wasn't bluffing. She sounded like someone who'd pulled stunts like this before. Later that day, I saw a delivery guy dropping off more boxes at the shed. I walked over. He said Karen told him it was common space. I didn't blame the guy. I just took photos of everything, license plate, the works. By nightfall, I had a folder on my computer called Shedgate. Evidence, timestamps, screenshots of the HOA website, no mention of any beautification project. Next morning, I was at the county records office, paperwork in hand. Clerk told me no permits had been filed there. Was an application, but it got denied. Guess who filed it? Travis Coington, nephew cousin who knows, but it stank of nepotism. I made copies, then called Dennis, a land surveyor I'd worked with before. He showed up with more tech than a Mars rover and mapped my property lines to the inch. That shed 91 feet inside my boundary. Not a mistake. Not a gray area. A land grab. Sent everything to my lawyer, Lou Benson. Man, looks like he chews legal code for breakfast. He told me, "You're sitting on a lawsuit." I said, "Not yet. Let's see if they'll admit it." Lou just laughed, said I was optimistic. I called it baiting a trap. That night, GoPro on my chest, I checked the shed again. More boxes had shown up, this time labeled with financial records binders marked RVC budget USB drives. I realized Karen wasn't just trespassing. She'd used my land as a dumping ground for the HOA's secrets. I relocked the door, knowing soon enough the sheriff would be the only one with a key. 2 days later, Sheriff McAdams pulled up. Man looked carved out of the local bedrock, mustache and all. I handed him the file deed survey denied permit photos. He looked it over and let out a sigh that said, "I've seen too much stupidity for one lifetime." We walked down, he cut the lock and stepped inside. He took one look and muttered, "This ain't lawn chairs and old paint." He snapped photos, opened boxes, found ledgers, receipts, envelopes full of cash, USB drives, a folder labeled backdated statements, "Do not file." He called for evidence collection. By noon, the place was roped off and yellow tape deputies combing through every dusty box. And then cue the drama, a silver Lexus shows up. Karen, in full command mode, marches down like she's storming the beaches, tries to shove past the deputy, claiming the shed was authorized under a verbal agreement with my late uncle. I said, "You mean my uncle who's been dead 8 months?" She froze for half a second, then spun some story about shared understanding. The sheriff cut her off, said it was trespassing and maybe evidence tampering. She started looking at the trees. Her board members started looking for exits. Deputies kept coming out with more evidence, contractor invoices addressed to TC Civic Works, which rang a bell. The sheriff told Karen if she had a problem, the judge would sort it out. By the time the last box was loaded up, Karen's fury had melted to pale panic. The neighborhood started buzzing. Emergency HOA meetings, panicked emails, board members jumping ship. Word got out that the sheriff had found a treasure trove of fraud, fake invoices, double billing checks to vendors that didn't exist except on paper. And all roads led to Karen and her nephew's company. The prosecutor filed charges: embezzlement, forgery, conspiracy, trespass, you name it. The best part: the shed itself became part of the evidence chain. Lou, my lawyer, said, "This is like a financial thriller, only with more landscaping." The county froze the HOA's bank account. The residents turned on Karen like she'd poisoned the bake sale. One of her loyalists even wore a wire caught her saying, "If they dig deeper, we're all screwed." That got sent right to the prosecutor. Court day came. I showed up in my boots and clean as flannel, just wanted to see it end. Karen looked nothing like the woman from the phone. The judge, unimpressed, reviewed the mountain of evidence, survey maps, drone photos, receipts. When the surveyor showed the shed was 91 feet inside my line, the whole courtroom went quiet. The judge ruled shed forfeited to me, HOA to pay damages. Karen indicted on everything but bad fashion choices. I nearly laughed out loud. Justice tastes a little sweeter when it comes with legal fees attached. Afterward, I turned that shed into a real workshop, ripped out the metal, added cedar siding, hung a sign, "Built by Karen, seized by Reed." Now a shed forever a warning. The HOA couldn't even breathe near my land without a judge's say-so. Karen. She popped up on local news blaming the patriarchy and calling me a land hoarder. Even in an orange jumpsuit, she found a way to sound like the victim. Now, 6 months later, things are quiet again. I finally got my dock plans, started planted tomatoes, watched herons fish by the bank. The shed's got a new sign over the door, no unauthorized beautification beyond this point. People call it Karen's Folly. The HOA has new management stricter rules, and the neighborhood, well, they actually got banana bread out of the deal. But every now and then I'll get asked, was it worth it? And I'll say this, there's nothing more satisfying than standing where someone tried to take what's yours and knowing you held your ground. So tell me, what would you have done? Ever tangled with an HOA or had someone try to take what's yours? Drop a comment. Let's hear your stories about justice, revenge, or just plain standing up for yourself. I'll be reading them right here by the river in my very own shed.